Hey everyone, back and a lot. First of all, thanks for visiting and sticking around, whatever. But I gotta be honest. I really am happy I had the time off. But because I needed it. Turned out I needed a break, and I didn't realize I needed a break until I took a break and saw people that I hadn't seen in quite a while. I was gone for 5 months. I had a lot of. I walked into my place, and because I felt better, I've been eating well, and got, for example, pomegranate juice. Hey, John Marks, how you doing? And thank you very much. I Because of all that, I did one live stream. I think while I was back, right, that Monday, and then there was just so much to do, right? Um, um, there's just so much to do, and I was just uh, caught up in doing it, and the doing it was good. Going to the alley on 3325 Grand Avenue, and then with my friend Beth, who some of you saw in my live stream, and going to cover city council and that sort of thing. Hey, well, Scott, how you doing? And hi, Joshua, how are you? My day is night. It is nighttime. It is 12:43 a.m. In the east, which is 9:43 back in the west, right? And It does feel good to be back here. Although I have two places, but my mom needs me here. This is home. I visited my godparents, had great dinner with them. Actually, Olivia Schaff's parents, and we had a lot of fun. Went to Lake Fest. Lake Fest was this 1 day Saturday event at Lake Merritt. Um, I have a video. I have videos I haven't even put up yet. And Oakland is on the throes of major change. Most of it has to do with what I call a kind of a modern poor Negro removal. And yeah, I did say that, and it's hard to say that without stuttering, but that's the end result. Because, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about this at all, I'm just being blunt. There's a huge affordable housing crisis. Homeless are all over, and it's bad, Um, uh, John Marks asked me if I heard about a barbecue Becky moment. John, let's see, we have Barbecue Becky, Jogger Joe, and Permit Patty, right? Now, a week ago today, actually Tuesday night, I covered the city council, and I wound up meeting Henry Satay, the guy who is Jogger Joe, right? And he's a nice guy. It was really unexpected, completely unexpected. I was interviewing the head of the of Visit Oakland, the Oakland Convention and Visitors Bureau, and I was walking back into council, and I saw this guy, and just something in me just said, "Hey, are you Henry Satay?" And he kind of looked like, well, I don't want to say anything, and he finally copped that he was. I said, "Yeah, Henry Satay, right?" And we had a conversation that I swore I would never share, but I can say that he's remorseful about what he did, and he's humble. And people, I don't know if they're people or bots, but I say that because when the people that responded to me on social media for the most part would say, "Hey, oh hey Albert," he would say, "Oh, he's not nice. It's not alleged." Blah, blah, blah. And I don't know who these folks are because they're using counts that don't have their names on them, right? I have no idea. Anyway, he was humble, and to say that anything other than that would be a lie, would be a complete lie. Okay, he was humble, and I that was it. He wasn't the person I expected who did what he did. Now that's it. So, that was interesting. So then, anyway, and then of course I found out more about where we were at the lawsuit and everything else, and that's what I want to talk about the rest of the night. Joshua said, "Do you think the weather in San Francisco is always cold and hot?" Oh, yeah, it's been like that. We have arcs, but when I got back, it was hot. Not without this humidity, though. Nothing beats this humidity. So anyway, I have a lot more educated bat for 2019, 2020. And I'm sorry, everyone I've talked to who's in a position to know, who's not part of the party line in Las Vegas, has told me very simply that stadium is not going to open for the NFL 2020 season. It's not ready, okay? They're not even close to ready, all right? You remember Forever says, best case scenario, City of Oakland gets a check from the NFL. They're not staying, no way, no how. That's not the point. Uh, no one, and see, here's the thing. And, I want all of you to understand something. When you talk about a lawsuit, you all have a tendency to jump way over the court process and discuss what would be a settlement as if that is the process. That's wrong. Okay? First of all, you have to understand what was done wrong, and then, in other words, the causes of action. In other words, what a cause of action is hey, look, why am I suing you? Okay? All right? And you know, Joe Lopez says, kick him out of Oakland. There are people who believe that, who side with you. Um, but anyway, but my point is that you have to understand the causes of action. And I know that's detailed, but what I'm asking you all to do is to become Zensters again. We kind of got off the track a bit and think. And what I mean by that is ask yourself, no one ever puts down in comments, what did the Raiders do wrong? Right? We used to do that. We used to have these detailed conversations about what the Raiders did that was wrong. Those are conversations unto themselves. And it's a lot. It really adds up. Okay? Malcolm asks, is there still a JPA meeting scheduled for later this week? Yeah, it's for Thursday. It's a special meeting. Malcolm M. Ferrer says Oakland should send a message and not let them stay. The one last year. That could happen. You know, I know I talked to Nate Miley at the great event, great dinner too. San Francisco Marriott, great dinners, man. If you're gonna book a banquet, do it. And if you're going to do it in San Francisco, I will pull a plug for the Marriott. Okay, fantastic dinner for the African American Juneteenth event last Friday night. I had a blast. Saw the new San Francisco Mayor London Breed. Took a picture with her. Um, yeah, that was a fantastic event. And then, my Nate walked in with his girlfriend, wife to be, and a lovely woman, and sat down at the table next to me. But no one knew Nate was there. It's a big ballroom, so I yelled out, "Hey, Alameda County Supervisor Nate Miley, right over here!" Okay, but okay, so it was that was interesting. That was a lot of fun, to say the least. That was a lot of fun, and I think as to what the outcome may be, all right, um, with this whole lawsuit to come, is basically, well, it's not basically simple. Okay, let me explain that. It's not basically simple. It is there are going to be two focuses on this, actually 16, and they're going to be 16 between 12 and 16 examples of where the Raiders violated good faith bargaining. Foremost among them, encapsulated in an ESPN article, as some of you may remember, where the Raiders said they were having secret meetings. Remember that? Um, and hey, John, how you doing? And John Mark says, I would love for Oakland to get enough money to get an existing franchise to play in Oakland and rebrand the team the Oakland Invaders. As Malcolm just said, this is what I'm talking about. This is a good comment. The Raiders negotiated in bad faith with the city and county on multiple occasions. Yeah, for going all the way back to 2011. Corey Brown says companies have already been heavily penalized by the courts for far less than the issues the Raiders and the NFL have breached. Yeah. Uh, Among them, for example, basically lying to the city of Oakland, not telling them that they were going to negotiate in Las Vegas. lying to the city of Oakland and not telling the mayor that Carson. Those are two right off the bat. Those are overhanging. Okay, encapsulated within those examples are others. For example, giving the impression that you're going to have meetings to have a stadium and not having it. For example, all right. Um, Forever says I only thought the only team that should move to team is LA. I think is what he's saying. They already had a 50 plus year history there. Uh, oh, the Rams. Yeah, I know. I understand. I didn't like that. I didn't like when the Rams moved myself from LA to St. Louis. I thought, what doesn't make any sense, right? So it never. The whole St. Louis thing never, felt right from my perspective. It just was. But but it, but that said, it was still wrong to put the people of St. Louis there. Hey, Joseph Binsman, how you doing? Nice to see you. Um, I don't, you know, I don't, I don't know. Well, I do know the Rams could have just been allowed to stay in St. Louis. That's it. And LA should have had an expansion team. Okay. And so now, but now every effort's going to be made to make the Rams look like they're a big sellout and all that stuff. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. It really is. So, so now I will take your questions and your comments. I made my comment. You heard mine, and I'd love to hear what hear what you have to say. Okay. And as far as the video and bandwidth, I don't quite know what to do about that. I think it is what it is. The only way to clear it up maybe um, a computer restart or because it's yeah, I get the same thing here, and sometimes that happens. Hmm. Let me try something real quick. This is a bit of an experiment. One moment. I'm live. I'm trying it again, and let's see here. So, as I was saying, basically, that I was taking your questions and everything else as to the matter of the lawsuit, the Raiders, the business of the NFL, other NFL news, and so yeah, it's clear now. Awesome. Yeah, that was unusual. All I did was I restarted the computer, and then I basically amounted. I basically, in a sense, I guess, reset the video. It happens at times for reasons I'm not technically, well, I wouldn't say technically savvy. I just simply don't know. You know, I don't know why that happened, but it happened. Buffering. I think it has to do with this Wi-Fi, the connection here at the house, and how it impacts the phone. But whatever. It's clear for you. Much better. Awesome. Woohoo! Awesome. Awesome. That's music to my ears. T. Cooper. Hey, I started to actually call you, my man. I thought a number of times when I was back in Oakland, hey, I should call and have a live meetup. But then I thought, God, it's just too late to do that, and uh, so I'm not gonna do that. And right, and uh, have a what I'm talking about is having a live stream show on some premise. I should have, but I was just I honestly didn't plan it out. I should have, but I didn't. I went back first and foremost for my friend Lars's memorial, and that really because his death really caught me by surprise, and just no other way to put it than that, and just no other way to put it than that, and after that I thought I'll leave on Monday. I was gonna leave on Tuesday. Excuse me. I was gonna leave on Monday, and I thought, why don't I just stay until Tuesday since I haven't covered city council in person in a long time. That's how I wound up meeting Henry Satay at they call Jarver Joe. And I thought, okay, well, I haven't seen my friend Beth in quite a while, so Wednesday night. And it just sort of rolled over that way. Then I was going to leave on Friday, and I thought, well, maybe just one more night, right? So, and then of course Saturdays the flight was awful, and then um, Sunday I didn't go anywhere, at all. And normally, like there's the Pride Parade, and like I said before, you don't have to be gay to understand civil rights. Uh, but I always would get go with my friend Beth, to the thing, and this time she wasn't going to go, and then I hadn't planned out anything. I didn't have a press credential, and I didn't want to run down there and say, "Please give me a press credential," and I hate doing that. My thought at this stage is, hey, look, if I didn't plan to be there, I'm not there. That's just the way it is. If somebody calls and says, hey, Zenny, we got a press credential for you, you can interview Senator Kamala Harris, then oh yeah, absolutely, right? Because I love Kamala, been acquainted with her for years, interviewed her a couple times, right? It's on Zenny 62, but that'd be fun. And but it didn't happen. All right, it didn't happen. Instead, I stayed at home, got out much later. Went. I wanted to see what the street looked like in the aftermath of the parade, and I did. Made a little video and all that stuff. And so by Monday, I was kind of ready to, as they say, get out of Dodge, but not not before cleaning up my place. Got rid of a lot of stuff. Oh, it's so liberating just to get rid of stuff in your place. Just so cleansing. It's like, oh, it's gone. All right. Okay, now enough about that. All right. Um, um, so you didn't miss anything. Now, here's the thing. Barry Lee says, "How was the Oakland Athletic Club? I bet it took forever to go through your mail." Well, it was a lot of fun. It was a ton of fun. Now, let me talk about this whole lawsuit thing. All right. The bottom line is that the Raiders lied in their intentions. They did not. They gave the city of Oakland the impression, as St. Louis was given the impression by the NFL, that and the Rams, that the Raiders and the Rams are intended to stay in their home markets when, as it will be proven, they had no intention of doing so. And the focus was the obtainment of these giant relocation fees that the owners get fed, right? Uh, so that will be the focus of that lawsuit. Will Oakland win? I would be very surprised in this instance if Oakland lost, mainly because it's not Oakland that's actually doing the suing. It's Jim Quinn and his staff of Berg and Entropy that are suing on contingency. Okay, so the city of Oakland attorneys really don't understand this. They are providing some assistance, but they are not driving this thing. Jim Quinn is driving this thing. All right. John Mark says, okay, so the Raiders lied to Oakland. I say take the team name and colors away from Mark Davis and rebrand them the Vegas Gamblers. And Hennessy says, would a new A stadium on the Coliseum site bring more fans out, or do you think it'll be the same as it is now? Oh, Hennessy, that's a great question. New stadiums always bring out people, new people. That's just a fact. And the A's really do need a baseball friendly stadium at in Oakland, and they haven't had it. And I was about to say at the Coliseum, but look, I think Howard Turner will make a great site. I know in the past I said, hey, it'd be great to maintain Coliseum as a sports complex, and I still hold to that. But I'd like to see what the A's thinking is with respect to the A's of the Coliseum. I mean, downtown Oakland is already not going to be the same, but it's going to be completely transformed if that happens. Hey, Cowboy Wrestler, how you doing? Cowboy says, finally you're back. Arcad says the Oakland A's need to win ball games and retain their players. That would help. But I'm telling you, if you take a look at the Giants and their new stadium, yeah, the Giants won. But even when the Giants weren't doing so well, look, Pac Bell Park was used to call it. Now AT&T is a fun place to just watch a game. It really is. Malcolmton says, are the local community groups still involved in preparations to file this lawsuit? You mean I don't know what Forever Oakland and We Stand with Oakland are doing right now, so I would have to say until they come forward and say otherwise, they don't seem to be doing anything. Now, someone watching this is probably going to go back to this weird say, "Oh, Zinni said this and all this," but that's silly, And that's the one that kind of um, behavior and exchange and is sad. I mean, for example, Grizz doesn't talk, or if I see John Jones at the council, he doesn't come. He just says, "Hey, Zinni," he doesn't come over and say hi. They really take this stuff a bit. Not let me take a bit out of my sentence. They take this in a way that I think is really disappointing and shameful, and it implies that, for example, I did something wrong to them when I didn't, and um, they went from first not liking me behind the scenes without knowing me, then getting to knowing me and liking me, but then when I didn't exactly want to, then when I wasn't marching to the tune of their drum, then I was a bad person again, you know, or oh, it's Zenny's, not their team player, right, or not a team player for them, but I've been around longer in Oakland politics than they have, and I felt that there was too much of this sort of me stuff, like, "Ooh, it's his mine. You can't be involved. Mine." I mean, and ironically enough, that's the same kind of um, thinking that got us. That has ruined Oakland in a lot of ways. I call it the groupism. My group can do it better than the other group, and no one did this before my group, right? My group has it all. My posse. I mean, the posseism is ridiculous. It really is, as opposed to bringing people together. So you know, the result is that when I'll tell you something. One thing that I learned in my 56 years on Earth is that when you're talking about making a decision that leads to a public process like a lawsuit of or a sports team or the construction of a skyscraper or anything large scale, ultimately it comes down to a handful of people who make the decision to do it. Now, it starts with the public hue and cry, right? But once the public has had its role, the public fades away and it's left to the group of people that are engineered it. Think about they're engineering it. Think about the ultimate example is a space launch, right? Space launches involves thousands of people, many thousands of people for everything to go just right. But ultimately, it's up to the astronauts in the vehicle and that small handful of people in mission control. The engineers have done their job that built it. The financiers have done their job to make sure that it was paid for. The government has done its job. If its financing is involved, the politicians have done their job. You see what I'm getting at? Everybody has a role. And what people have to understand is that there's nothing wrong with having all hands on deck, as Robert Bob used to say, because just by the nature of producing anything, at some point, the large group has to give away to a small set of people that are responsible for implementing whatever that is. That is a systemic fact. Grizz has to understand that. Um, Baus has to understand that. A number of people. That's just the way it works. And so they can't hold on to something that, in point of fact, uh, because of the nature of things, they can't hold on to. There's only so much you can do. You can't get mad at me for whatever it is they're mad at me about. It's ridiculous. So that's it, right? So anyway, Malcontent says who? So who is the client? Who is Malcontent? Write a comment. He says, so who of the client of the law firm? The city. The city is the client. Yes. Steely Blues says I was at the city and the county could join in. I don't know that they will. Um, and Kevin KD says I'm starting to agree about the sentiment that the NFL did not intend to give St. Louis, San Diego, and Oakland a fair shot to keep their respective teams. Not at all. In fact, and Kevin KD, we can come back to that because I want to read these comments. Hennessy says, I just think about the new stadium in Minnesota for the Twins and looks very empty most of the time. Just hope that doesn't happen here. It will. Okay, just by the nature, unless it's at Howard Terminal, because a Howard Terminal will give it would be a space to have large events in a place where they've never had them before. I believe that Howard Terminal will be more successful than the Coliseum, but both will be successful. All right. Um, John Mark says, I believe you're right, Kevin KD. And Pedro says, would you like to see 8 straight away games and 8 straight home games for if Las Vegas Stadium opens late in the season? Madden influence question. I think what I would like to see is the Raiders simply play out the string in 2020 in Oakland, and then rather than split and cause a problem with the JPA where they feel like they're being used, because the JPA is not going to agree to a half schedule. Because if the Raiders push that on them, the Raiders could turn around and say, hey, we're going to leave right here, we're going to get a Dodge, and we're not going to pay you. We already paid you and we're gone. All right? I could see the Raiders pulling that scenario unless there's something in the contract that specifically prohibits them from doing that. Say, hey, look, once you're here, you're here. You cannot skip town in the middle of the season. All right? That would be a clear breach of contract if they did it. So Malcontent says, hey, Kevin KD, it sounds like a real conspiracy between the league and those 3 owners. Which 3? Cowboy Wrestler says, Z. Can you tell me how the 49ers got their new stadium in Santa Clara given public resistance to taxpayer-funded stadiums in California? Yeah, what happened, to make it basically clear, is that Santa Clara's redevelopment agency already had room for a bond issue, and Jed was told about that, Jed and his dad, and they basically took over that bond issue and designed it around their needs. And that bond issue raised $420 million in public money for them, almost $500 million. Then they were able to add naming rights agreement, $200 million from Levi, the jeans maker, and other financing to construct this $1.4 billion stadium. So, and I hope that answers your question. John Marks says, but they also did it. Also, that money did not have to go to the voters. It was redevelopment money. Kevin KD says, John Marks, well, actually, that's not true. The electorate had already voted for that. Okay. So it was already approved, and the 49ers simply sort of picked it up, all right? They didn't have to do what what Carmen Policy's 49ers did, which I thought was brilliant. They lobbied for Proposition D and F. This was way back in, I believe, 1998. Won the election. Willie Brown was the mayor of San Francisco, first black mayor. Won the election. And that paved the way for what would have been, and I still contend should have been, the 49ers Stadium at Hunters Point. That stadium, which would have replaced Candlestick Park, was beautiful. It would have been incredible. Oh, it would have been just nice, but, it took too long to happen, and understandably, Jet York was getting impatient. John Marks says, malcontent. Kevin KD says, John Marks, malcontent. After this second Raiders departure, I honestly don't even feel like the NFL deserves to have a team in Oakland again, unless a private developer wants to build a stadium. Recad says, there are too many trains going in and out of Howard Terminal. Kevin KD says, why should Oakland build a stadium for a league that shafted them twice? Well, wow. Okay, if you're asking me, it's about I'll tell you why. Because implicit in your statement is the idea that Oakland did everything correctly, and yet this happened. And as a friend of mine said to me, and I wrote in my column on Oakland, my new blog, oaklandnewsnow.com, yeah, Zinni, we fucked up. And we are the Coliseum Joint Powers Authority, the County of Alameda, and the City of Oakland by not really treating the existence of its sports teams as a business that is to be monitored, as an economic development value that is to be appreciated. Okay? So, in part, what happened was our doing, our lousy deal making. Let me give you an example of a great deal maker, John Russo, when he was city attorney. We had what we have now. We have legal a bad legal climate. John came in as city attorney. First thing he did, one of the first things he did, was called Chris Cohen, who was then the Warriors owner, sat down and cleared the decks of all of their legal issues, one after the other. That's how you do business. We don't have people in Oakland that do that. Okay? So I don't accept that it was just the league shafting us. I am not taking the NFL off the hook or the Raiders off the hook, in particular the Raiders, off the hook because the NFL is more complicated than that for lack of good faith. That's still there. But I'm also saying that, yes, there are actions the city of Oakland could have taken that, hey, look, they didn't take. And the county of Alameda and the city of Oakland put in a person, a very nice person, Dina McClain, to run the JPA. She's bond counsel. She's not a sports facilities manager. She, by her own admission to me, August 25th of 2000 and others, she didn't understand what sports sponsorship was about. And here she's running the Coliseum Joint Powers Authority. But they asked her to, and they left her there to do so for quite some time. You know, it was a club. The JPA was ran by this little club, and that's just the sad fact, okay? It really is. John Mark says, get Carmen Policy to champion NFL bid to Oakland. I like the idea. Kevin Cady says, I would like that because they actually have money and the connections between business acumen to take advantage of the vast Bay Area market. You guys are talking about something I may have missed. And you were talking Larry Ellison. Okay, back to Larry Ellison. If he wants to do it. I'm of the mind that if he wanted to do it, he'd done it a long time ago. Now, Barry Lee says, I'm just curious, with the start of the AFF League, do you think the NFL will use them to develop players like the NHL? That could happen, but I don't know. I mean, that could happen. Let's see how it plays out. By the way, congratulations to my friend and acquaintance, Jocelyn Moore, who is the new executive vice president for communications and public relations and government relations for the National Football League. She is the first black female to hold that position in the history of the league. She was named June 25th. Very happy for her. Met her last year. She was an NFL lobbyist. Saw her again at the NFL owners meeting in Atlanta. Great person, ready smile, great handshake. Awesome. Really, really happy for her. Now, let me get to Kevin KD. Oh, let's see here. I believe I answered Barry Lee's question, right? Kevin KD says, Malcontent says to Kevin KD, maybe the league doesn't deserve to be in Oakland. The league and the Davis family helped burn the bridge to the town twice. That's true. That is true. And, look, this matter must be decided in court. There are too many loose ends, too many actions that have taken place that need to be explained, too many actions that have taken place that look like not dealing in good faith for there not to be a court session to sort it all out. This situation cries for that, and I certainly hope it gets it, and I believe it will. I really do. Now, Malcontent says, Kevin KD says to Malcontent, true, but it was the power owners like Jerry Jones and Robert Kraft who helped the self-serving two-timing agendas of the Davis family, not to mention the smugness and cowardice of Roselle and Goodell. Now, I'm going to defend Roger Goodell, okay? As my friend, I'm going to defend him, and I'll tell you why. Because Roger was not for this. And what happened between how we could have, here's one way, we could have mitigated against what was going on, is if Libby had simply said, hey, look, NFL, we'll give you the land, but with a proviso. I want a stream of revenues that will return 150 million in value to us over 15 years, or about 10 million a year, or maybe 15 or 20 years, right? But yeah, 15 years, 150, 10 million a year. Okay, that's actually doable. If you consider not just the stadium, but if you let the NFL have the land and the rights to development around the entire 180 acres, and then put the A's at Howard Terminal. See, if Libby had done that, we would not be in this situation. Or the NFL would have been seen to turn down a brilliant land deal in the Bay Area for something less than brilliant and very uncertain in Las Vegas that had only a $750 million check tied to it, and beyond that, a lot of uncertainty. Okay? But she didn't do that. She was trying to hold on to the land. They were trying to play hot potato with the properties. Oh, it's so hot. NFL can't hold on. We can't hold on to it. We gotta. When I say can't hold on to it, we want to give it up for somebody to buy. Because I have a video where Dan Calb, Oakland District 1 council member, said to me, well, the NFL better hurry up and make a decision because that land's going to be sold to a developer. There's a lot. And then, of course, there's the whole Elon Musk is going to buy it and everything else. My point is that, think about what I just told you. What's lacking there? Planning. It's like this willingness to give, and this is a problem with Oakland, willingness to give public lands up for private purchase that should be redeveloped for a public purpose. Okay? That was the focus of a council meeting yesterday, Tuesday. It has pitted the public against charter schools in Oakland because the city made a deal with a private charter school company to basically allow them to buy this public land for $450,000, which should have been used for affordable housing. That was recent. So it's not just in the Raiders context that the city of Oakland has exhibited this problem. It's all over the place, okay? It really is. Just, hey, let this rich person buy this land that we own and let them do it, as opposed to, oh, here, let's work a deal with the NFL and make sure it's developed so we can keep the Raiders here and then construct this mixed-use project around them, right? That wasn't done. So Cowboy Wrestler says, unfortunately, I believe Al himself would have moved the Raiders to Vegas if he had the chance. People are saying he wouldn't. Don't remember 82. I don't, you know what? I disagree, Cowboy, because maybe perhaps not intentionally implicit in your comment is the idea that Al Davis would have forgotten why he moved the Raiders back to Oakland to begin with. They were losing in LA. He wanted to get some of that hometown magic back and hometown feeling, and he did, for all practical purposes, achieve that. And the crowning example of that was, of course, the trip to the Super Bowl, and then the years prior to that when it looked like, when Gruden was coaching and everything, there was this excitement. Now we have that again, right? So Oakland has been better to the Raiders than LA by far. And besides, the Raiders didn't get what they wanted in LA, don't forget. And however, this is correct. Goodell didn't want the Raiders to move because he wanted the NFL presence in California. 2 teams in LA and 2 teams in the Bay Area. Yeah. And Kevin KD says to Arcade, he says, Arcade says, a majority of the blame is Mark Davis, 90%. And John Mark says, no Raider name in Oakland means that I am permanently done with the NFL. Malcontent, yes. Adelson is the main culprit in all of this. Adelson, Jerry Jones is really the main culprit. He's the one who led that. He's the one who got Adelson involved and told me, Jerry Jones personally told me he believed Sheldon Adelson, would be a fantastic NFL owner. He said that to me right to my face, chapter and verse in a conversation. I got nothing against Jerry. He's a great business guy. Now, Barry Lee says the San Antonio team of the AAFF got Daryl Johnson as general manager and Mike Riley as head coach. Cowboy Russell says correct. Goodell did not want the Raiders to move because he wanted the NFL presence in California, 2 teams in LA and 2 teams in the Bay Area. I said that before, but it's worth repeating. Cowboy Russell says, I'm sorry that came out wrong. Goodell wanted a strong NFL presence in California. Yeah, and Rogers also an old line Republican. Some might call him a Republican in name only, but the bottom line is, do any of you know what Rogers' father is noted for? I just anybody without looking it up on the internet. Anybody? Just if you know, just say yes or type a Y. If you don't, just type an N. I'll be interesting to see what your comments are. Barry Lee doesn't know. Who else doesn't know? Kevin KD says, Cowboy wrestler. He wanted the Bay Area market to have 2 teams, 49ers and Raiders. John Marks doesn't know. Okay. Troy Brown doesn't know. Wow. A lot of you don't know, huh? Who else doesn't know? That's 3 of you. There are 30 watching. Who else doesn't know? Blank says, yes, U.S. Senator. Yeah, but you don't know what he did as U.S. Senator. Malcontent says no. Okay. Anybody else? When I get to 10 responses, then I'll tell you, okay? So far, the no's. The yes I hold as an asterisk. There's another no, Albert. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 6. Got 4 more to go. Sean says, no clue. Cowboy Rush is a congressman from New York. Yeah, but what did he do? And Blank says, was it approved the NFL, AFL, and NFL merger? No, not at all. John Mark says, Steve Largent has nothing to do with this. Dean Willis says, Mark Davis will not want to go to court. Quinn will have his lunch. That sounds like Bouse, man. Hey, Bouse, how you doing? Kevin KD says, no. Okay. I think I've seen enough to tell you all. Charles Goodell is the father of Roger Goodell. It is a congressman from New York, and he had the singular distinction of being the only person to oppose, among Republicans, to oppose the Vietnam War. He was the Barbara Lee of his time. That's Roger Goodell's dad. He took a lot of heat for that, some death threats, but that's Charles Goodell. And when I first talked to Roger, I was 1996, and we spent most of our time talking about his father because I just happened to read about his dad in a book about politics and political history because I'm a political history junkie. And that was one of the more fun conversations I've ever had, But that's the person from which Roger Goodell sprang. Respond. And a brilliant man. So I say that because people don't get how Roger works. And, Roger's very much a conciliator. He's a go along to get along to a degree kind of guy. He likes to make deals. He likes to come to an agreement. He likes to get to yes, okay? And he's not how people characterize him. And I think it's quite unfortunate. And I say that as a person who's been the beneficiary of having access for a heck of a long time. And you would say how and why, but it's because the NFL honors the fact that in the city of Oakland, it never has, that I was the custodian of their main event product, the Super Bowl, the person who was trying to sell it to Oakland, essentially, right? And so Jack Hammer says, NFL guidelines says negotiation, good faith. How come the Raiders are moving? Can the lawsuit force them to stay? That's the whole, well, here's the thing, okay? Again, you have to win the lawsuit, and then in settlement, that's when you can determine, hey, look, can they stay or do they pay? So I don't know the answer to that. They have to win the lawsuit first. Understand? You can't jump over the trial in settlement that comes out. That's what happened with Cleveland. That's how the whole uniform thing came up. They never really actually went to trial. That was a way of avoiding trial. Okay, but it happened. So you have to go through the process of trial first, or at least, and look, have the appearances you can win this thing, and I think the Raiders have that appearance. Um, as Corey Brown just wrote, prove the allegations first. Right. I mean, again, the allegations are thick. Oh my gosh, there's such things as I don't know if you ever seen the video, which I'm not going to bother showing you, but where I asked Mark Davis why he was working behind Mayor Schaaf's back, that sort of thing. There's the myriad number of occasions when the Oakland officials told me the Raiders lied to them about Las Vegas. Personally told me that. Barry Lee says Cleveland case was a unique case that settled prior to court. Right. Black Lion says, "Hey, Black Lion, how you doing? Nice to see you. Nice to see you." Right, but Barry Lee, you're absolutely right. That never went to court. There are people who are under the impression that it went to court, not understanding the law. Right? The arrangement was made to keep the uniform by Mayor Michael White of Cleveland as a way of avoiding a trial, and Modell simply just skipped town. He wanted out. John Mark says, "Hey, Black Lion." Pedro Garland says, "So all the money Mark Davis spent, around 170 million, a loss." Well, if you're talking about Vegas, they've got a long way to go. Okay, that's not by far the amount of money that the Raiders are going to have to redirect. I say redirect because they don't have all that money themselves. Malcontent says, Z, the city would ask for specific things as damages within their complaint, money, team colors, or whatsoever. Well, not necessarily true. No. In fact, you take a look at, let me give you an example on time. Take a look at the St. Louis lawsuit. It has a specific declaratory for monetary relief. Okay? It doesn't mean, because that's written, it says nothing about, for example, keeping the Rams' name and colors or causing them to move back to St. Louis. So it doesn't say that. It simply says a declaration for monetary relief or monetary damages. How that is actually implemented can take on a number of different forms, and that is where your settlement conference comes in. Okay, so no, not right there. With all due respect, of course. Black Lion says, "Hello, John Marks. The fight continues." Barry Lee says, "Exactly. A lot of people think it went to court, and it never did because the owner was smart enough to settle prior to court case starting." Right. Kevin KD says, "So who will pay the judgment that the city of Oakland wins against the NFL, the league, or Sheldon Adelson?" Well, then we're not Sheldon. Sheldon Adelson has nothing to do with it. The lawsuit will never touch him. It will be the NFL and the Raiders because they're all enjoined. And Black Lion says, "Let's put the same pressure on Davis." But they're all enjoined. And I think the other question is, that really does stick out is, hey, how can this affect the Raiders' bottom line if they win? Suppose you had a pissed off jury that said, all right, $1 billion. You're to pay $1 billion. That would be a huge game changer, okay? What if it were more than that? What if in the analysis they decided to send a message and they said, okay, 19 billion, kind of like, or 9 billion, right? I mean, some astronomically high figure. And then you would get in a settlement. Now, maybe at that point, you could talk about the Raiders not moving, right? Okay. Now, is that possible? Hey, I'm not going to say it's not. All kinds of things come out in court that piss juries off. You never know. You really don't. Corey Brown says, oh, Kevin K.D. says, but isn't Adelson Mark Davis' personal piggy bank? No, not at all. Brown says, because the Raiders were supposed to be negotiating with Oakland exclusively at some point, could Nevada or Clark County be charged with tampering? I've thought about that quite a bit. That's really a great question. I would have to say that, yeah, the Clark County could have been charged with tampering. I feel that that lawsuit should have went out the door the very minute Oakland got wind of Las Vegas involvement. There should have been the minute it came up in the news that Davis was at the Southern Nevada Tourism and Infrastructure Committee meetings, that is when Libby should have went to Jerry, convinced him to file a lawsuit on behalf of the state of California, slap the lawsuit or threaten to slap it on the state of Nevada, and then move that way. Because the problem now is it's so far down the pipe that I mean, why couldn't they do it, you know? I'm certainly a fan of economic tampering lawsuits. I really am. And Barry Lee says the bar will have been set once the St. Louis case is done because it will be in court before Oakland's case, and maybe then Mark Davis and the NFL will settle the Oakland case. Could happen. Malcolmson says the city has to explain how they were damaged, and I explain would make them whole. I'm not saying they need to ask for team colors. I agree with you. Okay, I get you there. And Corey Brown says, because the Raiders were supposed to be negotiating in Oakland, I got that statement. Black Lion says, great question, Corey Brown. I agree. Right? I believe I just handled that one. Now, Kevin KD says Clark County should have to pay the judgment. B. Yank says, as much as Trump hates the NFL, he would hate the what? Cowboy says, do you believe the Raiders will face an exact exodus in Oakland similar to what happened to the Warriors in the Houston in Oilers in Houston in '96? An exectus? What's an exectus? I have to look that one up. I'll wait for you to type what you mean. Malcolmson says, I say get the money. I do too, because you're looking at, $370 million from this relocation fee, plus $218 million from the previous one. So you're looking at over $588 million in collectible damages. Well, theoretically collectible. Like, hey, Exodus. It could happen like that, yeah. Albert 106 says, how's the tax revenue coming for Vegas? It's not good. It's short. They are, the next meeting of the authority isn't until, I believe, the 23rd of July. But by my estimate, they are, the revenue stream that they're generating now cannot pay the debt service plus the debt coverage ratio, or times the debt coverage ratio for the bond issue next year. The first year it starts off the deficit, the next year has a little bit of a surplus, and then it dips in terms of what they have to pay, and then it goes up. But even then, if you add that 1.5, the debt coverage ratio, even when it dips, there's still a problem. There's still a deficit. So the question is, how many years are they going to be able to go out before they have to dip in the taxpayer pool? And I would say maybe about 2 or 3. The stadium money, the hotel tax money earmarked for the stadium is not enough right now. It is that revenue stream unto itself, okay, is not producing enough money to pay for the bond debt times the debt coverage ratio 1.5 on a monthly basis. It's already in shortfall. And there's no sign that it's going to get better. I don't care what anybody tells me about, oh, we think tourism is going to be more because of hotels. Not with this trade war looming. The trade war is said to be such that it can hamper Chinese tourism. No one ever talked about Canadian tourism. Canada is the biggest sender of international tourists to Las Vegas. So all the way around, this thing doesn't look good in that from that perspective. Um, and Barry Lee says Cowboy Wrestling. I think the Titans are even looking to move. I don't think they get a new stadium, but I could be wrong. People talk about the Titans wanting to move, and I'm not seeing that. They just got the NFL draft, by the way. Barry Lee says I heard the same thing. I can't see the family wanting to do that unless it was sold, and I don't see that there's a stomach to do that. Um, John Mark says, could the Tennessee Titans be the team that moves to Oakland? No, I'm not seeing that. Never say never, but I don't know of any reason why the Titans would want to move at this point. Um, they don't have a bad relationship with the city fathers and mothers. They have a fantastic fan base. They're eager to show, the Titans are, that Nashville can host the NFL draft. That's far more than the Raiders ever did for Oakland. The Raiders have never tried to bring the draft to Oakland. Never talked about it. I did. Okay. But look at how fast the Raiders worked to get the draft to Vegas, right? Still in the talks to do that. Cowboy Wrestlers cracked my phone screen the other day, so forgive me for the spelling errors. Gotcha. John Kaya says, so the stadium may not be ready until 2022 or 2023 because of the shortage in the tax revenue. Not necessarily. No, it's just that it's simply they started too late, John. It's not. Let me explain something. The shortage of the tax revenue, yeah, it could contribute to that, right? Because right now they have a 547 million. They were supposed to float the bond issue. It was supposed to be really a $650 million bond issue, $750 million, and the idea was that $100 million gap would be filled in by a 2-year collection of tax revenues. But look, they're 500. They didn't sell 650 million worth. It was only 547 million. The question is, okay. The question is, what are they going to do with that money that they don't get? All right, that's the question. 750 million minus 550 million. That's $200 million right there. Okay, that's a round. I just rounded it. So really, it's $203 million is the gap. And all right, so now Houston Oilers. What's that? John Mark says. Okay. Sean Grogan says, drove by the stadium in Vegas last Saturday, broke my heart. Why? Barry Lee says, I missed the Houston Oilers. And got that one. Black Lion says, the Seahawks were on the way to LA. Why, Sean, are you heartbroken? It's got a long way to go. They've got, little steel pings in the thing. And, I mean, you're heartbroken. I'm thinking, God, they got a long way to go, man. I'm thinking, cha-ching, baby, money spent, So what's eating you? John Mark says, I do remember the fans stopped the moving truck. What is this? What are you talking about? The Oilers when they left? Sean Gross says, it's a reality that they're leaving or trying to leave. It is a reality, but it's also, but you know what though? I've said this and I'll say it before. All these issues aside, that stadium, when it is finally finished, is going to be a great thing. Not a good thing, but a great thing for the Southern Nevada Valley. It really is. There's no other. Hold on a second. I hear this. Listen. That's Dirk Cotter talking to James Wilson.
Better than that. You're so much better. You're playing a great game. You just do a great Perfect spot, OJ. Great go route. And then do that.
But see, okay, I got to make a comment here. You know what I don't like about how Dirk Carter coaches Jameis Winston? He yells at him rather than talking to him in a technical ball. All right, and so that little exchange I heard, never heard it before. I'm starting to think that Dirk Carter is not the right coach for Jameis Winston. I just have to say that. Jameis Winston needs a coach who is not afraid to talk technical football, and rather than yell at him, sit down and say, okay, so what went wrong? What did we do here? Right? But Carter's approach is anti-intellectual football. It's, I am the coach. I am yelling at you. Forget it. Forget it. Barry Lee says, I'm heartbroken that all the taxpayers in Vegas don't understand just how bad they were taking the cleaners. I will say this. Again, I'll say it again. I love Vegas. I love the glitz. I love the glamour. I love the history. I really hope they come out of this in a way that makes them whole. And I say that because I know people don't like it, but some people don't like it. But I will have to, I have to tell you, they tried. They build. They figure out a way to get done public projects in a way that Oakland does not. Think about what I just explained to you. Oakland is doing what? It's taking public land and it's selling them to private organizations for their own good. Think about what Vegas is doing. It's taking public money and it's making a public project. No, you don't like it that it's affecting us, but that's why I say part of the blame still rests with Oakland. Okay? So, Arcade says, when and if the Raiders leave Oakland, I will officially retire from the NFL as a fan. I won't spend another dime and will not watch the sport. And Sean Grogan says, concrete poured, some signs of life. It's going to take a long time, Sean. It really is. And the key will be, can the Raiders afford it? Can the Raiders afford the stadium operating cost? And I have to tell you, there's a side of me that's rooting for them because they've come this far to do it. And I'll explain why. And something I've said before is I believe that Mark Davis wants to prove that he's the kind of guy that can get this done because people have always made fun of him. He's very much aware of it. It's very wrong. It's very wrong. And so he's eager to prove that he too can do the big thing. Okay? And that resonates with me. That resonates with me. So I get that. As much as he doesn't like me, I don't care. But I like me. Just like I was telling you, Barry Lee was sitting there saying, hey, they're saying bad stuff about you. I said, well, they spell my name right? Kevin KD says, does Oakland think that selling to private projects is more profitable than public projects? Yeah. They're people who are on council. They're mesmerized with the Bucks. Oh my God! And I mean Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean they're mesmerized with they're mesmerized with getting this money. They ostensibly for the city and doing all these deals, backroom deals, and they don't have any. And it's because of the lack of training, idea how to really publicly plan stuff that works. Now, the one exception to this is something that really started before this more politically activist administration came in, and that's the cleaning up and the restoration of the grounds and the smoothing out of the grounds around Lake Merritt. Oh, that's so beautiful. Long time coming. Finally being implemented, and it's going to be the key. I think that it's going to be the key that unlocks the door to the path of Libby Schaaf's re-election as mayor. All right, it's just beautiful. It really is, and it is that one example of that public thing. But it's not creating jobs for anybody other than construction. It's a look nice thing. It's not like a convention center or a stadium. These are facilities we need. The head of the Convention and Visitors Bureau told me on video, he said that tourism is the second largest employer in Oakland. Think about that. Tourism, right? Do we do anything to prime that pump with development? No. So we happen to be in a position as a city where tourism is our second largest employer, and we didn't consciously cause that. Think about it, okay? We didn't. Uh, Black Lion says Davis is not going to do this on his own. John Mark says Oakland will survive without the Raiders. Uh, Cowboy Russell says Las Vegas doesn't have two prestigious universities such as UC Berkeley and Stanford. Oh, I forget. The Bay Area also has Silicon Valley. Yes. Corey Brown says that's true, but what Vegas has is a dramatic international recognition as the center of gambling. And don't discount that power. Now, it doesn't automatically mean billions will come to the stadium because it hasn't happened yet. And you have a number of casino organizations that haven't committed bucks to the Raiders effort at all. All right. Corey Brown says the Bay Area fans made the Raiders. We can do it again, even better possibly. John Mark says I believe you're right, Corey Brown. I know you're right, Corey Brown. I know you're absolutely 1,000,000,000% correct. Bradley says, one, don't even spell your name right. They spelled Zinai instead of Zinni. Well, whatever. Okay, so they can't spell. That means they're not talking about me. Cowboy Wrestler says, boy, the Bucks are a mess right now. Yeah, they are. But, I mean, but I don't think that thing with Jameis Winston was properly explained, because I don't think that whole deal about a suspension. Let me see the update on that. Jameis Winston racism. Let's see. Jameis Winston. The Bucks did this to themselves. Jameis Winston's suspension will dictate Bucks' path, but I haven't seen. Everyone says that Jameis Winston's about to be suspended, but he hasn't come down. So now ESPN says, friend says Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback Jameis Winston was alone with Uber driver. That's a friend. Which friend? Which friend? A friend of Jameis Winston says that statement contradicts a third friend who said Winston was never alone. Brandon Banks and Eagles quarterback Ron Darby was Scottsdale, Arizona nightclub in March 2016 when Winston became intoxicated and unruly, prompting his friends to send him away in an Uber. Banks attorney Mark Scruggs told Outside the Lines. What happened after that, Scruggs said they cannot say. So this guy gets an attorney. Somebody's setting. This is why, this leads to more questions. Why does this guy get an attorney if he's not involved? All right, and if he's never been identified as being seen until now, maybe he's one of the guys that was saying to the girl about Jameis Winston. I don't know. There is something wrong. I'm sorry, there's still something wrong because there's no police involved in this. Again, that's why it's all over the place. There's no police report. Law enforcement was never involved. She didn't call law enforcement. And my question is, was she drunk too? Because now they're saying Jameis was drunk. Was she drunk? I mean, something is wrong here. Why didn't she go to the police? The only reason you don't go to the police is because you think, as the Uber driver, you might get breathalyzed if you believe that you were groped. And groping is bad, you call the cops. That's the way I understand it. She didn't do that. So something's wrong here with this whole thing, okay? Instead, she went and she told BuzzFeed News. Come on. All right, that's bad. And here it says the Winston's camp denies the allegation, issuing a statement that the driver was confused as to the number of passengers in the car and who was sitting next to her. And so Darby didn't name the third person Banks, but Darby and Winston's statements effectively put Banks in the front seat. Ah, now Banks is serving 15 years in prison. This is getting weird, folks. Okay. Banks is serving 15 years in prison after being found guilty of aggravated rape and aggravated sexual battery in June of 2017 for his role in the gang rape of a female Vanderbilt student in June 2013. Shrug said any implication that Banks was in the front seat is false. That's his attorney. He says Brandon was never in the car with the victim. But wait a minute. He's got a prior. I mean, somebody's playing the wrong finger in the wrong direction. All right? This guy's in jail for how long? He's serving 15 years in prison after being found guilty of aggravated rape and aggravated sexual battery. June of last year. And this is the guy that says he wasn't in the car? Come on. All right? This is... You can't make this stuff up. You cannot make this stuff up. This is ridiculous. All right? And then he says Banks did not speak to the NFL as part of its investigation. So why the hell is he talking now? Because ESPN is paying him? This is ridiculous. Somebody's trying to set Jameis up. I'm telling you. They don't want Jameis. They don't want too many black quarterbacks. Somebody doesn't. I'm not saying this is a league perfectly acting this way. I'm saying that there are people who made it their mission to find something bad about folks who are black because we're getting too many black people showing up in places where they shouldn't be. So think about it, because now you get the barbecue Becky type, and then you get, jogger Joe Henry Sestay says that he didn't realize it was a race issue. But, I told him that people think he's racist. And then there's this, and he's remorseful. And then there's this Permit Patty person who I haven't read much about at all, but I understand that she's remorseful. But the bottom line is you have these folks who are, and others who seem bent on saying, oh, these black people are doing bad things. Let's report them for living. Right? Okay? And then think about in the NFL context. It's like, well, too many black people taking jobs. Too many, there are people who actually act like that. Really do. Really do. Albert 106 says, I totally agree, Z. Richard Hike, how you doing? Welcome. What did you miss? You missed a lot. Still going, though. Still going. Arquette says, NFL probably still sell tapes for money. John Mark says, can we say suspension? Can I say fraud? Yes. Corey Brown says, how are judges assigned to cases? Will the Oakland Raiders lawsuit require a judge that is not a fan of the Raiders or football? It's a fantastic question. I'll ask. Would you, so I don't forget, remind me of that by email or call? That's a very good question. That is a very good question. Corey Brown says, I got that one. Then Kevin KD says, are free land or public money for tapes? Now, Barry Lee says, in the case of the water selling case, I think she was just missing a miss know-it-all who doesn't know anything and should have minded her own business. Yeah, but Barry Lee, this is what I think about, okay? And trying to think maybe if I can find this video to show you, right? It's mine. And this is what goes through my head whenever I think of that. And this is what goes through my head. That comment, okay? And let me see if I can find this real quick. What I'm looking for. Oh, by the way, Richard Hike says any Uber driver I know would have called Uber's emergency hotline and gotten Winston banned. But my point is, but why didn't she why didn't she call the police unless she was drunk or something was wrong or she had weed? There was something wrong where she didn't call the police. Okay? There's something really, you see what I'm getting at? Uh, Barely says with racism included. Yeah, but Barely, what I'm looking for right now is, what I'm about to look for, is a Obama inauguration Zenny 62 2012. And it's a video I have that Zenny 62 YouTube. Okay. And oh, New York Times. This is where Google's. I type Obama inauguration Zenny 62 2012 YouTube and I get other people's YouTube videos in Google, which means I'll have to go open a page in YouTube.
When it comes to strong loans,
ostensibly,
are you on the right path?
To get the right information, right? So let's see if I click on that. Come on, yeah, there we go. Okay, now Obama inauguration day 1, Wesley Clark inauguration, Obama White House. Oh, it's going to take me a while to find it. But the inauguration of Barack Obama, what I'm looking for is a video where I was walking by I was walking down the street around the Capitol area, and there was a kid selling lemonade stand in the neighborhood, okay? And I'll never forget that, because in this context, no one said, hey, I'm calling the police on you for selling lemonade on this corner. Everybody wanted lemonade. But it's this light-skinned, black girl, and all of a sudden, oh, it's a problem. Oh, that I'd like to see it, and I bet she never would have called the police on a white kid doing that. All right? That's just what's so whacked out about this whole thing. And sad, and all the other adjectives that one can think of. I'm not going to bother hunting for it too much. His John Mark says, it's a trap, Admiral Akbar. And play it on his weakness. That's right. Absolutely. Play it on his weakness. Now, and I'm curious as well, some friend says, now they said the friend that said that Jameis Winston was alone isn't really a friend. This is crazy. I mean, just crazy. This is crazy. A spokeswoman for Winston said Friday afternoon that the NFL had yet to inform him of any suspension, and she said she could not comment on the information from Banks or any aspect of the investigation. Okay, so that's crazy, and I wonder on Twitter what's going on. This is sad. I don't know how many times I can use that term, sad. I don't know how many times I use that word, sad. But sad is describes it best. It really does. Hold on a second. Now, was Jameis drunk? I don't know. And at all. First time I heard about it. Let me see here. What I'm doing is I'm typing Jameis Winston Anybody watching World Cup, by the way? Just asking. Anybody? 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 Because I haven't watched it yet. Hold on a second. Oh, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, congratulations. Newcomer, high-ranking Democrat ousted in stunning primary loss to newcomer Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, 28-year-old Bernie Sanders campaigner, organizer with no electoral experience, upset a top-ranking Democrat with eyes on the House speakership. Woo! Wow. I mean, that's huge. That's huge. And Representative Joe Crowley lost. And here's the new face of the Democratic Party, or some of the new faces. Take a look at that. Cynthia Nixon from Sex and the City in the center. And there is, right here, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I don't know who this gentleman is. Let me scroll down. Perhaps we'll say it doesn't say. But yeah, she won. 28 years old. Victory. That shows you that if you set your mind to anything, you can do it. I have a friend who ran for similar office in Chattanooga, Tennessee, lost first time out, same age. But she gave it a go. She really did. And Crowley spent 2 decades in Congress, thought he had inside track to become the speaker. And this woman is a member, take note of this, she is a member of the Democratic Socialists of America, never held elected office. Democratic Socialists of America is an organization I'm hearing about more and more and more. And it is a seismic upset, to say the least. And it says, meanwhile, and I promised myself I wasn't going to talk about politics, but I saw this, like, what? Oh, you know? So I'm not going to talk about it much. I just had to note that. I'll come back to it later. That's wild. That's wild. Are you helping in Mexico? Mexico. Oh, hey, hey, hey. Well, oh boy. Oh, hey, hey. Life is not fair. No, life isn't fair. What are y'all talking about? And I can't stand racism. Okay, cool. Richard Hike says, I think judges are assigned, it's up to the attorneys to ask for a new judge or a judge, to be honest, to recuse themselves. Oh, for Martavius Bryant? Barry Lee says, exactly, sir, and she knew that she would be made out to be a villain. When I saw on TV interview she was crying. Sorry, I have no sympathy for her. What she needs is counseling. Wait, who are you all talking about now? You lost me there. You lost me there. Let me go back. Now I'm rushing to catch up with my own stream. Barry Lee says, did everyone hear about how well the Russian team is doing at the World Cup? Can you say performance-enhancing drugs like they did in the Winter Olympics? Okay. John Costa says, I think Raiders will move in the Las Vegas Stadium at the start of 2021 season. Yeah, that's more realistic, you know. I don't know about 2022, but I think the way things are going, 2021 is more realistic, and why not? You know, why not? I have to say, it's going to be a lot of fun to see the Raiders finally get their own great stadium. Let's face it, it will be. We certainly don't like the way it was done. It's going to be a lot of fun to see them fight this out in court, too. So how about this? The Raiders fight it out in court, lose in court, pay Oakland $1 billion, and then Oakland can build its new stadium. Ooh. Apparently says, I was referring to the woman who called police on the 8-year-old girl. Oh, I didn't see her crying and all that. Okay, I heard that she was on some sort of Was it Pity Tour? Pity Tour? Oh, pity me, pity me, pity me, pity me. I gotta follow up on that one. Backline says, not if it's not in Oakland. Cabaretto says, World Cup to me, permit Patty. Speaking of World Cup, let's see here. She was on CNN. What? Oh man, oh man. Oh boy, oh boy. So, I think the problem for me is I keep thinking, how come I'm not following the World Cup? And well, the answer is simple, because USA is not in it. It was a lot of fun when we were involved, because it's your country, right? But it's no fun now because the USA is not involved, so there's nobody on our side to root for. It's kind of like I feel rootless. Literally, who do I root for? I don't know. Yeah. So it is now 2:09, folks. I'm going to show off. It's been fantastic to talk with everyone. Tomorrow night, programming note, I will not be on. And the reason is that my mom is flying back, and I'm not quite sure how the flights are going to line up for her. So I need to be on call for her rather than, here. I may have to go to the airport early, hang out at the airport, and wait for my mom, okay? Albert says, you cannot root for Mexico. Why not? Why not? John Mark says, I love Chile. Tell me who I can't root for. So I will see you all Thursday night. Okay, I'll be back on Thursday night. Hey, by the way, how many of you have checked out my new blog, oaklandnewsnow.com? Just by a yes, a Y, or no. If you haven't, just let me know. Hey, thanks, Barry Lee. Appreciate it. Have you checked out oaklandnewsnow.com? Barry Lee has. Thank you. How you like it, Barry Lee? Malcontent has. Thank you. John Marks has. Thank you. He's got on right now. Okay, says, do you think Gruden was the right? Ta-da. Oakland News Now. See that? That's oaklandnewsnow.com. That's the latest post. There about Comic-Con. Take a look at John Mark. Supergirl's coming. I'm going to be writing more about that tonight. NFL names Jocelyn Moore, first black female EVP for communications, public affairs. Chris Young gets Annie Campbell Washington endorsement. City of Oakland to hear Councilmember Kaplan's proposals for labor union Uber tax. Allsop dismisses Oakland San Francisco climate change lawsuit. Spritz Marketing becomes Salesforce Transit Center San Francisco Bay Area marketing partner. City of Oakland. Hey, ML, thank you for the investment. Oh, thank you very much. I really needed that. And I got to fire up the payouts, the shares too. So I'll get on that tonight. Thank you. I'll get on that right now. I keep saying I'll get on that, all right? And this one, the Academy, 928 members, the most diverse list ever. Kendrick Lamar and Daisy Ridley are now Academy members. That's history. That's progress. SF Pride from a social media point of view. Fun stuff, only in San Francisco. Baked cheese tart. Westfield Shopping Center's new craze. Look at those things from Japan. Testing WordPress iPhone app. That's London Breed, new mayor of San Francisco. I was there at the African American Chamber dinner last Friday night. Nate Miley was there. Community Fund LLC evicting a 92-year-old Layla Madison from home should be illegal. A horrible story. Hurt my heart. Anyway, that's it. Check it out, folks. That's Oakland News Now is what it's called. Oakland News Now. It's on Google News too. Very proud of it. Consistently trying to improve it and make it better. Very much excited to move forward on and report more about what's happening. This is not a hyper local blog. It's not just Oakland. It's Oakland and the world, all right? So check it out right there. Boom. Oakland News Now. There's the link in there. All right. All right, everybody. I'll see ya. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night. All right. Thanks again, everybody. See ya. Oh, thanks. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.